I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Pair Eyewear. After a full year of planning, many Zoom meetings, and lots of class prep, I kissed my dog goodbye, and my husband and I left for a 13-day cruise of Scandinavia, filled with amazing places, and even better, new and familiar friends. So stick with me, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Hi, I'm Karen Brown of Just Get It Done Quilts. I give you tips, tricks, and strategies to help you make the quilt that you want to make. And if you like what you see, please click that subscribe button. This was my 5th trip with RGE Travels and my 4th aboard a celebrity ship. And once again, they did not disappoint. Our adventure started early, as I took a couple of extra days with my husband to show him what I love so much about the Netherlands. First things first, snacks and cheese. And let me tell you, Nutella on tap is both a blessing and a curse. We explored the region's cutting-edge infrastructure, massive dikes, elegant wind turbines, and high-tech greenhouses. A surprise gem for us was discovering the old water fort at a town called Everdingen, followed by a visit to a stunning glassworks and museum. In Amsterdam, we managed a quick ride between the canals and the squares before meeting up with our group at the Amrith Hotel for our pre-cruise tour. This was my first time visiting the Netherlands in spring, and we just caught the tail end of tulip season at the Keukenhof. It was a bustling place, but absolutely breathtaking. And yes, I did find a textile display in amongst the blooms. And we also visit Zandseslaan, a charming village where historic windmills have been rebuilt and repurposed. Watching them in action along the canal was mesmerizing. Then off to a cheese farm for some delicious tasting. Always a good idea. The next morning, we gathered early, dodging Amsterdam's legendary bike lanes. Seriously, you could get really hurt by one of these cyclists if you weren't watching. Before boarding the ship, we made one last important stop at Petra Prin's gorgeous store in Amsterdam, where she welcomed us with a lovely trunk show. And then it was time to head to the port. But not just us, but also the 30 Bernina sewing machines provided by K&B Sewing. While we relaxed and got to know each other in the lounge, Katie and Ben were upstairs hard at work setting up the classroom. And as always, they did an incredible job. Teaching on a cruise has its challenges. You need a flexible project that works for all levels with minimal tools and fabric. Plus, I'm hauling all the samples, a quilt, and all the handouts. From past trips, I know that printed patterns can be heavy. So this time, I plan to print them locally in Amsterdam. Easier said than done. Finding an open shop when you're available is not easy. Thankfully, our first class was Improv Curves, a low-pressure, creative way to start. Katie introduced everyone to the Berninas, and then we jumped in with the curve templates that my husband made for each participant. It was all about playing with color and shape, not about perfection. Our first port was Oslo. With just one day to explore, my husband and I rented e-scooters to maximize our time and our fun. We zipped by the Royal Palace and wandered through Vigeland Park. At the National Museum, we saw The Scream, admired textile exhibits, and found one of my favorite sewing boxes ever. It also happened to be Let the Cows Out of the Barn Day, a local tradition where people gather to watch the cows jump for joy as they taste the spring grass for the first time. The crowds were unbelievable. Back on the ship that evening, we shared stories about our day with our quilting friends. Our next stop was Skagan at Denmark's northern tip. We rented e-bikes and headed north through the sunshine and salty air. We biked along the beach, explored World War II bunkers, and visited the lighthouse. But then I was on a mission. I needed those patterns printed. Google led us to a shop off the beaten track. Not only did they print all 200 copies I needed, they had a monster printer that handled the full bleed pages. No resizing from letter to A4. Mission accomplished. And now for some downtime at the local pub. Patterns in hand, I was thrilled to share them in our second class. Our first block went off beautifully, and I loved how everyone jumped in and shared their own techniques. This trip, I also tested out today's sponsor, Pair Eyewear. You have probably already seen them online because they offer high-quality, affordable glasses. And these fun top frames give you versatility without the bulk. And this is how they work. First, you choose your base pair by taking a virtual try-on. You can test out as many frames as you want to, and they come in all these colors. Then you choose your extra tops. I started with a sunglass one because I needed that for my trip. And then there are all the regular choices for the top frames. I chose this brown one and this funky one. Next, you upload your prescription. And then you just simply wait just over a week and the glasses will arrive on your doorstep. I loved taking them on my trip. I kept them stacked together in my sling bag, and they took up almost no room. When I needed them, it was just an easy snap-on. And I didn't mention the price. These are less than half the price I paid for my last pair at my optometrist. And I have 3 more ways to style them. So if you think you want to give them a try, click on the link in my description box, or click on this QR code to get 15% off your first pair. Unfortunately, our next 2 ports were canceled due to high Arctic winds. I had no idea how many islands surrounded Stockholm and the Baltic Sea. Those narrow channels and sharp turns make it dangerous for large ships, and it was so blustery, Sweden didn't even send a pilot boat. So we had an unexpected sewing day at sea, as our captain rerouted us to Tallinn, Estonia, giving us 1 extra day to explore. And honestly, Tallinn was our favorite stop. Because it was never a wealthy port city, it never tore down its medieval core. The result? A beautifully restored, walled old town perched on a hill, contrasted with a modern, tech-forward city. Even the Maritime Museum was high-tech. Press a button for your preferred language, and the exhibit came alive. There were textile gems too, like horn cases for thread and needle, and enormous thimbles for sail repair. But there was no information on the actual sails, which was women's work, and apparently not well documented. I might have voiced my opinion on that, but one of the highlights of the trip was the next day, a chocolate making class at Chocolala. We met in their cozy basement kitchen, where the head chocolatier taught us to make bonbons. We could choose dark or milk chocolate with fillings like caramel, nuts, or my favorite, marzipan. While they chilled in the fridge, we enjoyed the best hot chocolate of our lives. Chocolala recently celebrated their 10th anniversary, and they already have a shelf full of awards. And naturally, we had to stock up. Thank you again to Shelley for suggesting this excursion. It was a perfect way to spend time together. Just across the Gulf of Finland, Helsinki was our next port of call. We took the scenic tour that included the Sibelius Monument, the Lutheran Cathedral, and the famous rock church. The landscape, so filled with islands, reminded me so much of home. Honestly, if you had blindfolded me and dropped me there, I would think that I was either in Northern Ontario or on the St. Lawrence River. The next day in class, we tackled fussy cutting with foundation paper piecing. It was a mentally challenging day, even for the experienced quilters, as your focus could not let up for a second. But everybody was up for the challenge, and the results were amazing. We had a 2-day stop in Copenhagen. On arrival, we had a little party to watch our massive ship moor with precision. Later that day, we took the city highlights tour, and yes, the Danes are very proud of their Little Mermaid statue. The next day, we grabbed some e-bikes to tour around the city, but honestly, it was so hot and the traffic so bad, we ducked into the National Museum for a break and a bit more exploring. Our final class, we focused on the partial seam, which assembled all the blocks together. I was so proud of these quilters who showed up every day, ready to learn, grow, and support one another. Our final class was a full circle moment, and it was really hard to believe that just 2 weeks earlier, most of us had been strangers. We had learned together, eaten together, and created memories together, both on and off the ship. It's a trip I'll never forget. Before heading home, I'd have one more crafty adventure. Up on the 15th deck of the ship, there was a glasswork studio. Now, saying that I made a paperweight is generous. The glazier did most of the work, but I was able to participate in most of the steps. And I walked away with a deep appreciation for how hard glasswork actually is. It was the perfect way to end our journey. One final group dinner, lots of hugs, and then we all went our separate ways. If you would like to join me on my next adventure, I'll be heading to Japan in May of 2026. I'll leave all the details in the notes below. Take care, and I'll see you next time.